Ah! G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, I'm having a lot of fun in the studio, so that's always important when it comes to FPV and drone racing. But what this is the part 1 review of Diatone, the GTR. They've been making a lot lately. This one's a little bit different than the one you might have seen, and I have meant to do a review of it. I don't think I've done it yet, actually, but that one had 4 individual arms, 4 individual ESCs on the arms. This one, it's got the 4-in-1. It's doing some cool stuff. I've got this pretty radical looking pod that I can't wait to maybe stick on the top. But what this is the part 1, the bench breakdown, the text and the specs. If you just want to see how it flies and that's what you care about, go watch this. You can see Grumpy Trev, Crash Test Cal, you know, all the speed runs, that stuff. A little card should pop up there. Thank you, YouTube, for that service. But this is it. This is for Diatone. We're going to put it on the bench and find out what makes this drone tick, what makes it so special. Is it going to be the right sort of racing craft for you? Because let me tell you, there is some top-notch gear in here. Bind and flies nowadays are getting better than ever. There's so many good ones coming out, which is fantastic because not everybody wants to build, and now when you go to the races, when you go to meets, so many people, they just want a drone they can take out of the box. They don't want to do too much soldering, anything like that, and they can still have an awesome quality time with some quality gear. So, with all that said and done, let's put this thing on the bench, find out if the Diatone, I'm going to call it the Rabbit actually, because it does say Rabbit in the top, but the GT Rabbit, but we're going to put this thing on the bench and find out is it the right one for you. So let's do it. Go down the rabbit hole in 3, 2, 1. Whoop. That was me doing a rabbit, like a bunny hop. Alrighty, here it is on the bench. Here's the Rabbit, and you're going to have to forgive me because, look, it's a little bit dirty. I have taken this thing out. I couldn't help myself. I've gone for a few little sneaky flights, but and I did have a lot of fun with it, so it has had a few crashes. It's got a little bit of grass, a little bit of mud on it, but let's kick it off with the part 1, and as an overview, what this is, it's a bind and fly race. You take it out of the box, you rip it around, and it goes pretty hard, I've got to say, and it's also at a pretty good price as well, around the $200, $220 buck mark as well. So what it is, inside we're going to go through, we're going to talk about the components, then we're going to talk about the design, the pros and the cons, and find out, is this going to be a good craft for you, and if so, sort of how does it come together? Now, the other thing I should mention as well, I don't really think this is more going after the racing market, so you want something that's hard and fast. It's not really a freestyle one. I think the arms are a little bit thinner. They're probably going to break a little bit easier than some of the freestyle rigs out there, and also trying to mount a GoPro to this thing, well, it's okay. I've done it, but I didn't feel like it was the best. So if you want a freestyle rig, I don't think this one is for you. Now, let's kick it off, go through some of the components as well. We're going to start at the outside in. So look, I've just got some cyclones on mine, but underneath we have some of the stars of the show. You can see there's no individual ESCs on the arm. I don't think really people do that anymore. Now these bad boys right here, these are the Racing Edge motors, and these are 2306, 2450 kV, and I think that's a really good mix of kV. It's a little bit more efficient. Plenty of thrust in these motors though. I've been a big fan. I think that's one of the better things about this. We move towards the middle. That's where we've got our 40 amp 4-in-1 ESC right there, and on top of that we've also got our Betaflight OSD, but that is an F3, so I don't know why they've chosen to go an F3. I guess it's to keep the cost down, but I'm a bit shocked that they're making bind and flyers that aren't having F4s, because that's what most quads out there are nowadays. Now on top of that, another star of the show, we've got a TBS Unify as well, so of course this thing's got smart audio, and it runs your little dipole antenna, which is okay. Look, some people like it like this. I much prefer your little antenna coming out the back. I'm not really a big fan of it on the side. I know the Floss does it that way, but that design, doesn't really do it for me. We've got some huge caps on the back, which I think is great, and also we've got our little run cam camera in the front, our little micro camera, which is held in by 2 little sort of, they're not printed plastic parts, by 2 injection molded parts. So a pretty strong little chassis there for the camera. You get some camera protection, but I do think because it's racing, you might run into a flag. It might sort of, you'd have to get unlucky, but there still is the potential to crack your lens if you hit a flag dead on. Now if I flip it over, this is where I want to talk about the frame a little bit more. So you can see it's made up of 4 individual arms. We've got our brace plate on the bottom, but there's no brace plate on the top. It just goes straight to standoffs, and I don't really like that. I feel like that was a big design flaw with these sorts of ones, how they don't have anything that's sandwiching the arms. It means there's a lot of pressure on some of these bolts right here that go straight to the standoff, and I don't think that's the best way of doing things. But what they really should be doing is sandwiching this between a brace plate. It would make it that much stronger and that much less likely to break. Now if we measure the arms, they're coming in at 4 millimeters thick. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. And overall, I feel like for the price, you can't really complain too much, especially with some of the cool components you're getting in here. and also things like the smart audio with a proper TBS one in here. That stuff is pretty cool. Now, I guess moving on to the designer thing, it's not really doing anything too innovative. I mean, this frame design is very not basic, but it's been done to death by a lot of quads. It's 4 individual arms slapped on some flat carbon. I don't feel like they're doing anything innovative, nothing special. Yes, it works, but it's pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. So what I would like it to be designed a little bit more is to be able to fit a GoPro a little bit better, and also have this way so these caps can fit into that racing pod as well. I think that would be a nice little touch they should add in. Now moving on to the quality of the thing, I'm going to say about a 7 out of 10. I feel like Diatone, they've been a bit hit and miss lately. Sometimes they've been making good stuff. Sometimes, like when they did the Mamba ESCs, that didn't hold up too well in crashes. So this, I'm just going to say 7 out of 10. It is built nicely, and I like everything they've got in here, and I like the components. I just want to see how's it going to hold up after crash, after crash, after crash. Are you going to get any sort of internal malfunctions or any problems that sort of come arising due to a lot of crashes? So that part, it's a little bit up in the air. That's a pretty good pun. For that part, for me, that's why it's only going to get a 7 out of 10. It might be okay, it might be better, but I'm still a little bit reluctant given some of the recent track history of how some of the quads from Diatone's been coming out. Now, if we move on to the pros and the cons, well, let's do some of the pros and then we'll do the cons. Things I do like. I like the price. I think it's a pretty good price to pay, especially for something like this with some amazing motors, you know, Unify in there, smart audio, all that sort of stuff. I especially like the motors. I think that's good. A micro camera. I don't really like the way that this antenna mounts. I don't like it doesn't carry GoPro. And probably my biggest thing that I love the caps too. I think that's a great addition. I really like these caps. Some nice little touches as well, although I do wish they'd zip tie this XT60 down so it doesn't get, I keep saying that, but it's probably one of my complaints in all my reviews. Guys, please zip tie this down. It wouldn't cost anything extra. You could even put it under here, but it's going to stop it getting ripped off the board, but I guess you viewers can do that at home. But the one part I really can't stress enough is, please, can you just put an extra brace plate on the top? I think that would make this frame so much stronger. I like the 4mm arms. I like how it's replaceable, and some people might not be upset if they break one of these because, look, it's a pretty cheap little arm to replace, but overall, I feel like that would make it just, that's how I want it anyway. If I was going to have this quad, that's what I would want on there. And then probably the last con that I have about this one is they've used an F3, which is getting it's getting more and more redundant. It still flies fine. I don't think most pilots who just take a bind and fly out of the box, they're going to notice, but I would like to see an F4 in here moving forward. So we'll have to see. I'm not sure how much that would affect the price, but you know, even for a couple of bucks more, I'd be willing to put that in there, and I think it just helps future-proof the quads just that little bit extra as well. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review, my part 1 review of the Rabbit, and overall, look, I like some of the things I do. I think Diatone is going in the right direction. I do wish it had a second brace plate in there, but things like the Unify, all that sort of stuff, it does come in at a fairly nice price. I would like it if the canopy fitted a little bit better and we could still keep the caps in there somehow, because that part was annoying, and it doesn't carry a GoPro the best, but the motors and stuff on here, we should be getting some serious performance. So that's what I can't wait to see in part 2. That's when we're going to take it out, give it a real rip around. It's a very nice clean build, and it does come nicely put together, but let's do it. That's when in the part 2 we're going to go have some fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Definitely subscribe for more FPV related content. Let's go watch that part 2 now. Remember, that little card should be linked up there or down below, and as always, happy flying! Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.